Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Espathra, the suspect of, or the subject of the latest suspect test in DOU. Um, this is going to probably seem a little bit odd to people who haven't really paid attention to DOU for a while. But yeah, this Pokemon has been relatively cringe for a very long time. And today we're just going to be talking about like why I personally will be voting to ban this Pokemon. Um, And yeah, it shouldn't be like too long of a video, but I thought I'd put this out because I think this suspect test, while not like it's not going to be like it's not going to like massively affect the fate of the tier, but I do think it's a very important suspect test to vote on. I feel like the impact this suspect test is going to have is going to be primarily on SV as an old gen, and that's probably why I care so much about it. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about Espathra. So Espathra, if you've like paid any attention to Smogon, it's basically the Baton Pass Pokemon of Gen 9. And Baton Pass is obviously a very gimmicky strategy in DOU just in general. But Espathra kind of like takes it a leg up. I'd say to a level that's like really hasn't really been seen since like Extreme Evo Boost was legal. Um, I mean, obviously I wasn't really around back then, but we had it in Natdex, and we had to ban it there because it was pretty cringe. Espathra actually got banned in Natdex by a quick ban a couple of months ago. It was just being extremely cringe there as well. But obviously, tiering in SVDOU, it has to be a little bit more, generally like more well monitored, and like consensus in DOU is generally harder to reach than in Natdex. In Natdex, everyone just kind of agreed to get rid of it, and that was that. But here we are, Espathra suspect test, and I guess like we kind of want to get into like what makes Espathra like a good Pokemon, right? So let's see here. How long will PS take to load? All right, team builder routine. Okay, so Espathra, you look at this Pokemon and you're like, this looks like shit. Like what are we doing here? 95 HP, 60 defense, 60 speed F, and then like kind of just middling offenses, right? It's pretty fast, but like not fast enough, and not it doesn't have really anything else it's doing right. So does not look like a pretty interesting Pokemon. You might look at Opportunist, so it's like permanent mirror, and you're like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing to ever exist. But not really for good. Is actually like a very particular set of traits, and that's its access to speed boost, uh, and plus Calm Mind and Baton Pass, right? And it also has Stab and Stored Power, which, while not like not the part that's really making it broken, it's definitely like something that adds the flexibility of a Espathra, right? So the Espathra, a few things, right? So looking at speed tier, it's fast enough that it like even with like minimal investment at like +1, it's going to be outspeeding like basically the entire tier, right? Uh, you have to go like invest a little bit to get over POW, but for reasons we'll talk about in a little bit, that's not really the biggest concern when it comes to what a Espathra is trying to do, right? So Spafford usually tends to run something like this: Grassy Seed, Calm Mind, Stored Power, Baton Pass, and Protect. And it's just, this is a Pokemon that probably would not be, it has a variety of terrains, Fairy, Dark, pick your poison, right? Uh, if this Pokemon was like any other tier, it probably would not have the ability to do everything it does. It'd still be cringe. But there's a few things about SVDOU that makes this Pokemon like especially threatening, especially like the current metagame, to be honest, right? So the thing about Espathra, right, is in SV is the doubles tier with like the most utility, right? Like if you look at previous DOU tiers, right, there are a lot of Pokemon that have access to Fake Out, right? There's some Pokemon that have access to Redirection. Primarily, like we're primarily talking about like Gen 7 for Gen 9 here, like in Gen 7, like Gen 7 onwards, you have like plenty of Fake Out Pokemon. But if you look at Gen 7 and Gen 8, there's actually like not that many good redirection options. Like the best one's Amoonguss, but Amoonguss is kind of at least you can like ignore that, right? Because it's you have to like tech on safety goggles or something, right? In SV, like obviously we have the Ogre Pods. The Ogre Pods are like a very, very big part of what's making a Spoffer broken. Well, There's a lot of things, right? But SV just in general has like the most utility of any doubles tier, so it's like very easy to support a Pokemon like Espathra. And then you have factor in Terra, and it's often like quite difficult to actually stop this Pokemon from like setting up. Um, and the thing about it that makes it like so strong that I think people miss is that the tier for a while. If you look at the history of SPDOU, as the format has gone on, I'd say like post like DLC 2, there was like at the very beginning there was like kind of like a really big uptick in like physical offense stuff, gouging fire, Tinglu, Pow, and I'd say actually like a very very big part of the way this format has developed has actually been the way people have adapted to like dealing with that archetype, right? Which happens to have like a very good matchup into Espathra generally. The thing about Espathra is like you can often tech specific Pokemon on its teams to help it beat the matchups where it's not as helpful. Um, and that's kind of why I'd say like Espathra doesn't really have. There's some people that would tell you that Espathra just like, oh, it auto loses to this. That's just not really the case if you look at like recent teams. Definitely could have been the case in the past, but the thing is, like, it's really only something that requires like fake out plus redirection plus a Espathra, right? And then you have three slots to play with. Oftentimes, you run double fake out, or God forbid, double redirection, right? Um, but very easy to support, to be honest. Like, you just need a couple of mods, and it just adds kind of like a very dangerous element to your team. Because a lot of Pokemon, if you look at SVDU, are just like not designed to get like certain stat boosts. Like, you look at Gold, and you look at Gold when it has +1 defense and +1 spin F, and it's like, oh, that was not in the Bible of DOU. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the history of DOU since DLC 2, I'd say like the biggest trends have been figuring out how to better play into physical offense, and to the betterment of Espathra, there are like now plenty of Pokemon that are run that like commonly have an excellent matchup in the physical offense. Physical offense with POW stuff is just the worst it's ever been, for a variety of reasons, but primarily like if you queue into like Okidogi, you kind of just lose. Not necessarily, but if you queue into like specific like bulk up Okidogi variants, you kind of just can't do anything. And you just queue into like Diancie and they get like a defense boost early, like you kind of just can't do anything. And so there's like a couple things like that. You queue into like Kyurem with Snow and you kind of just can't do anything. So all of that like cryo spam with like D-Knight or something, or like Tinglu, like that, while those things might have like good matchups on paper into a spot for, they've become harder and harder to justify in this format. And that has made the tier very, very special heavy. Um, which seems like it would still not be a problem. There's plenty of like spread move, like special attackers, and like while that's true, the thing is that's what makes the Spoffra so good, because the Spoffra, oftentimes on the special side, can guarantee that it gets a Calm Mind up before it takes damage, and that's like a very big deal, especially when you pair it with like double fake out core, right, and redirection. And all of a sudden, it becomes very difficult to hit this Pokemon before it starts setting up. And once it starts setting up, if you can't break through it quickly, it quickly becomes very, very problematic. And oftentimes, like it only takes like one. It can only take like one set of boosts to really make a Spoffra or like whatever is receiving the baton pass extremely strong. Especially like again, when you have to consider like have access to Terra as well. Um, and so this is just like not really a healthy dynamic. Like it's not that much. It's basically not any skill to be like, oh, I lead really good with Spoffra, I click fake out, I protect the Spoffra, I go back to Instant, or I go back to Ogerpon, right? Um, like, it's just very easy for this Pokemon to stack boosts, and it's just like really well situated in the metagame, I'd say. It's like been around for a while. Like, if you look back, Sister had a post yesterday, kind of talking about the history of Espathra. I'd recommend checking this out if you want to hear about the history. But this Pokemon's kind of been around for a while, but it really only started to pick up like I'd say like maybe like late SCL, and I'd say that like the main reason for this is just what I just described, right? Okidogi and like Diancie to a lesser extent, but primarily Okidogi, has really opened up the tier, and it's made it like very easy to tech for these physical teams in the builder. Like it's not like a Spoffra is useless into them, but like it can't stack multiple like defense boosts like it can spin F boosts, right? So you have a much easier time dealing with like special attack heavy metagame. Uh, So yeah, definitely something that's contributed to how good it is. Speed boost is obviously very good for it. Like that's kind of like the whole thing, right? Like you get the SPDF boosts like faster than like they can attack you with special attacks, and that's like a very very big deal. So very big part of it. Um, let's see what else do I want to talk about here. Okay, so like common counterplay to this, there's a few things, right? It's like very fast taunt. I can shut it down. The thing is like if we're talking about this, we need to be approaching it from the perspective that like what is the Espathra team trying to do to subvert potential counterplay, right? So obviously you can have like you can taunt the Espathra, right? Okay, so what can they do? They can redirect the taunt. They can try to taunt you before they taunt. A lot of Espathra teams were like extremely fast into the roar to subvert taunt counterplay. Uh, they'll run they'll run taunt. It can stop roar as well. Roar is another thing. Uh, and now you'd actually think phasing would be like very very good at stopping Espathra or like whatever like baton pass to. But the thing is, the primary phasing move in the tier is Whirlwind Ting Lu, and that's like it's blocked by Good as Gold from Goldengo, and Goldengo is the primary baton pass target. Uh, for reasons that probably make sense. Like I mean, it's got a perfect typing, or well, not perfect, but like it's an excellent typing. It can actually boost further once it actually has the boost. Because the thing that the Spotfire passes that's most important for gold is actually the defense boost and not the special attack boosts. Because you can actually like you can click nasty plot with your gold yourself. They could be strong. I've actually seen people run recover as a side note, which is funny. But I just think generally like what's very strong about gold is it can actually like keep setting up and make more use of the boosts. And it's also like immune to the counterplay of like phasing. So that's very good. So the thing is, Sprouter can be very strategic about like the partners it's passing to, depending on the matchups you're worried about. So I'd say that's like probably like one of the things that makes it a little bit uncompetitive. But on its own, like I've just described what it does. I haven't really described why it's unhealthy. Um, so the thing is, SVDOU is simply not as stable a format as like Gen 8 or Gen 7 DOU. Right? Like there's so many things. Like, okay, there are so many Pokemon in the game. You know? Like in SV, if anything, it's actually like less of an issue. But in all three of the most recent gens, there are just like a billion archetypes you can queue into, right? But the problem is, in Gen 7 and Gen 8, you have a lot more stabilizing Pokemon. You have your Zero Aura, your Tapu Fini, um, and as well as like a few like other like more format dependent Pokemon. Like Rillaboom is a lot better in SS than it is in SV. It's still good in SV, but it doesn't really like stabilize things quite as well as it does in Gen 8. And so SV, like you kind of already have trouble accounting for everything. Compared to Gen 8 or Gen 7 where it's like a lot easier to like just like load stuff and like play the game. It doesn't really it can get you like decently far in SV, but it can't bring you that far. So much of it is like prep and accounting for like as many things in the builder, but you're never gonna have a perfect matchup. You're always gonna have something that you like pretty like lose to pretty hard. And that like adding this buffer to the mix has just been like it's been like really cringe to be honest. Like as someone who like builds a lot of teams and like has a lot of other, like friends that are like building a lot of teams, like it's definitely been like a really big deal as of late. And like I think it's very, very necessary. Okay, not okay, rephrase what I'm saying. It would be very, very good for the legacy of SVDOU to get this Pokemon out of the tier. For that reason, right? Because the thing is, SVDOU is just like it's a constrained format, and adding like one more constraint to it that doesn't actually have like the easiest counterplay in the world, and also happens to be pretty uncompetitive if you have a bad matchup. Like if you have a bad matchup, you kind of just lose to a Spafra unless you crit it, which is real counterplay. But like if we're talking about it like that, like this is basically like Dondozo Tatsugiri. Like why is this legal, right? So yeah, it's just pretty cringe. Like the thing is, it's not the most used Pokemon. We'll look at this usage stats here. It's like covering around like 2.5 to 3%, which is, like might not seem like a lot, but that's like still something that's having like a pretty big tour impact. And I just really, from my perspective, right? It's like, okay, I've played this tier for like how long? Like 3.5 years almost by this point. I've seen like a lot of things in this format, and we've spent a lot of time tiering this format. Maybe not as tiered as much as it could have been, but generally, like the tier is much better now than it was like at pretty much any other point. There were always tiering struggles, but really, like after we banned Arch, like this tier became like I think very very good compared to what it was. Like it's, again, like it'll never be as good as like Gen 7 or Gen 8 for me. Just based on like the Pokemon that are in the game, to be honest, and Terra as a mechanic. But like it's been very very good compared to like when we had like Arch legal or when we had Fluttermane legal. Like SV came along, and so it's like from my perspective, I'm like, okay, SV is going to be an old gen soon. People are going to be like coming to DOU next gen or 2 gens from now, 3 gens from now, whatever, right? And they're going to be looking at SV. And like what I don't want is like when people like look at SV as an old gen and they're like, I don't want to pick this up format up. You know, like I don't want them to look at it like I look at like BW and feel like fun and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to play this. Or like like a year ago, probably like easier example, right? You're like I look at BW, I see like Shadow Tag legal with like this rain team that's winning every game, and like I don't want to play this game, you know? I don't want people to like come to SVDOU and like see it as an old gen and like they're like, oh my god, why is this Espathra illegal? Like, why would I play a format where I could queue into this? Why would I ever like that? To me would be like really kind of tragic, to be honest. Um, like this format has like a lot to offer, to be honest. Like there are some things about SV that like make it very unique from every other tier. Uh, and like while I don't appreciate all of those things, like there are some parts of it that I think are like very good. And it's just like I don't want this tier to be defined by this Pokemon. And like maybe it won't be, but it's just like I feel like we as the people playing this format right now have a responsibility to make the tier as playable as possible for the people that are going to pick up the tier in the future, right? Like it's a lot harder to ban things as when something is an old gen, and Spoffra is just kind of the Pokemon that could be like potentially like I feel like format ruining for people. Um, it's not really that case for me. I think it's like it's cringe, and I hate having to like account for it in the builder when there's already so many things. But it's like it doesn't. It's such an easy ban, you know. Like this Pokemon does not add anything to the tier. Uh, it's very very like matchup dependent. And it just like ruins. Well, again, ruins strong word, right? But it like it greatly it worsens the tier, you know, like having it around. And I think we should be getting rid of things that are cringe and competitive and making the format worse. So that's kind of like my 2 cents about it, like philosophy wise. I just think like it's not like the biggest issue in the world, but I want people who like are coming to SV as an old gen to see the tier and be like, okay, yeah, this what is legal in this format makes sense for the most part, you know? Like I want people to like look at it like people look at SMDO and you're like, okay, yeah, this is like a well tiered format. I am excited to play this format because it looks very balanced and very fun. I don't want them to look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this looks like when Gothitelle was legal in BW. Why would I ever play this tier when I can queue Gothitelle or Espathra and just like lose on preview, right? So that's my 2 cents. Let's get into watching a couple replays that I think are like indicative of what I'm talking about here. Um, let's see. This was kind of like the game that really put it on the map. This was an SCL, and we're going to see this not even click baton pass in this replay, so it's not the greatest example, but I still think it kind of illustrates the problem, right? So Madara has a team, if we look at this, that's like pretty special heavy. It has a couple physical attackers, but they're not like physical attackers that are OHKOing things, right? So the Espathra gets one combined up, right? And like now you have to fear Encore, but like other than that, like their Espathra is like untouchable, right? And so you can say whatever you want. Oh my gosh, this team from Madara is so bad, but this is like not. This is not like an out there team. This is just like a kind of standard Snow team. Say what you want about Snow, but it definitely is like part of the tier, regardless of like how good you think it is, right? So we're just gonna see a spot for just like completely dog walk all over this archetype, even after getting Encored. and it's still gonna just like run away with this game. And it's like, well, what was he supposed to do? You know, like I guess like freeze and crit the Espathra, I guess, you know, like but that just feels wrong. In this game, it doesn't really even like the Espathra doesn't even have baton pass. It just looks like, oh, it's just another broken set of sweeper. But to be honest, like there are not many Pokemon that can do this. It's like the unique combination of like having speed boost plus calm mind that makes this so unplayable, right, for Madara. Because it just
The stacks like too many Spidesters too quickly for this to be able to break it. Like the
physical attacker is like a setup mon and like Incineroar, you know? But yeah, it's just kind of chopped. We'll just like skip through the rest of the turns. But yeah, pretty cringe, right? So there's that. Definitely some other examples here. Let's see. All right, we're gonna batch up into like another kind of setup archetype. You're gonna see pretty quickly like how like easily it plays into this matchup, if I remember right. Let's see. Put it on fast. Roar Incineroar. So yeah, I mean like the Incineroar sets on these teams are like a very big part of it. Like the Incineroar is such a flexible Pokemon, and its utility is actually like really helpful for this archetype in like ways you probably wouldn't like really expect. But it's so like Incineroar is just kind of like the perfect partner for Espathra in some ways, right? You can like deter most of the potential counterplay that is not just like outright damage, and even then, like other than like inner focus fonts like Dragonite, like Incineroar is gonna have like pretty good chance of getting. This is an insane set, by the way. Roar, parting shot, taunt. Normally we don't really do all that, but Spafford's in. It can't be immediately dealt with, and yeah, it's just how it goes. Yeah, even if that went into a Spaffer, that was not going to be doing a whole lot. Two-way asked to be too little, too late. Baton pass. There's the gold. Gold's at +2 speed. Yeah, this is an interesting like take on the archetype that I haven't like it looks like Super Troll, but I guess the idea is just like once you get all the hazards up, it becomes a lot more difficult to like switch around and like try to like get your wands in a good position against the Spafra. So this team has actually seen like quite a bit of a success. I've like seen it around a lot. I would not call it the best example of a Spafra because I feel like these teams are better when there's like more flexible options for what you can baton pass to, but definitely like gold is the primary target, as we'll see. All right, here's a team that like you'd think maybe would have a good Spafra matchup, right? It's like physical stuff. We're gonna see, and it also has Glabora, right? You'd think that'd be pretty good, like poison wands and stuff. But we're gonna see pretty quickly how like this doesn't really like necessarily play out. This is kind of what I'd call like a more standard Spafra team. You got your double fake, you got your redirection, and you got like two mons that can abuse it, but they're also just like good mons and can play normally, right? Like this is not like if you take away the Espafra, this just looks like a normal team. And that's like part of why it's like such a threatening mon. Because like I think like at the beginning when people were using it, like the teams looked like very, very like linear around Espafra, but like that's really not how it plays. You can kind of just like fit it on things as long as you have like the basic infrastructure to support it. So we're gonna see a double up, and it's the Incineroar outspeed that Rillaboom. The Incineroar run pretty fast with this team because yeah, like you want to taunt their instant before they taunt you, etc. Stuff like that. Baton passes in. Now the gold can't be like whirlwinded out, and even like whatever double up this is, even if it's ruination, it's not going to be enough to really threaten this gold seriously. Because now, yeah, they get the redirection in as well. And so it just becomes very easy for the Espafra player to flowchart games, kind of at the expense of the opponent. So this is a pretty good example, to be honest. Like, again, like you can argue, okay, maybe this isn't the greatest team in the world, but like it's not bad, you know? Like, it's not bad enough that it should justify like being able to like have a matchup that's like this unplayable. It's kind of like the way I'd look at it. Like, maybe you could say, oh, that's just Mons, but like, even like the worst matchups you could pull in this tier generally afford more leeway than this. Because if you don't crit this gold, like yeah, what is he supposed to do? You know, like meh. Like it's just like I don't know how you can look at this and be like, yeah, this is what I want SVDOU to be like remembered by. You know, like this is what I want new players to see when they look at SVDOU. Like I just like don't. I fundamentally just like don't understand like how I could ever think that. You know, I guess is what like how I want to put it. Yeah, like it's just this Pokemon is not designed to have spin F boosts or defense boosts. I mean, it can get like grass seed pretty easily, but what Gold got away with in this game is like only possible thanks to Espathra. Let's see. Yeah, Z ran this a lot, and a lot of tours after SCL, and this pace has kind of been around as well. It has Primarina. I think this is actually one of the weaker teams, but it has like plenty of wins, and it's done like pretty well. I just think Primarina is kind of like a bad mon, but that's just how it goes, right? So Espathra gets set up. We'll see if we see the baton pass to block the whirlwind. Yep, there's the gold. Can't be whirlwinded out. And even this, it's just like, yeah, it's just like it just fits so well together, like somehow with like the other good mods in the tier. Because like gold, obviously, perfect example. Can't be party shot. It can't be whirlwinded, and like it only needed this one boost to like kind of get out of control in this game. The gold on this team, I do not think is a particularly good set. I think like the better ones nowadays are the ones that are running plot. Because it just gives you the ability to like keep sweeping even if like the initial like attack boosts you have are not like strong. But yeah, a good example of just like how gold can like just really like find itself in a really good position thanks to a Espathra and just like make a major like impact on the opponent's team. Yeah. The Espathra's probably gonna come back in and do it again. Or I might not even need to. Oh, yep. So that's actually like part of what makes it interesting is like it has late game it can come in heavily damaged and then like exert pressure with stored power. It's something that you see occasionally. Again, not like the primary like subject here, but like it can do that too. Let's see. Yeah, this game is over. Let's see. There's some other things you can try to do, right? Like you can try to use like I'd say like Ursaluna is one of the best mods at dealing with this Espathra just because it does like so much flat damage. But it's still if it wants to hit Espathra hard, it has to click Facade, which is like obviously a single target. So Ursaluna itself can even fall into victim to like the blunder of like fake out parting shot, intimidate, redirection. You know, we don't even see like the Ursaluna on this team, but yeah, like DNC is just not going to be enough to break through it. Like congrats, you just did like half to the Espathra, but it just got another boost, and like it's not. It can just like baton pass safely out. The greed is crazy. But yeah, so many like mods you could baton pass to with it, and that's obviously adds to its flexibility as well. Yeah, I mean to really effectively beat this, you have to have like some form of like strong, like very very strong fast spread damage. And you sometimes you kind of just have to like out tech them as well. Like have some like tech that they're like not prepared for, or like catches them off guard, which like definitely like can be done, but like come on, man. Yeah, I mean like it's just like again, like if the bolt doesn't get crit here, like how is it gonna ever lose this game? Yeah. Let's see. There's also a Komodo version going around that's like immune to Starl. That's soundproof. Let's see. Yeah, it's just like a lot of examples of this. But yeah, I won't make this too long. But really, I think if you want to take anything from this video, what I'm really trying to say here is like, don't let these replays be like the legacy of SVDOU. You know, like we're lucky to play this format when it's current gen. lucky, unlucky, however you want to put it, right? But we're the ones that are playing it right now, and I do feel like we have a responsibility to make the tier as playable as possible for the people that come after us to play this tier, to play DOU in a couple gens. And I think while while it might seem like kind of strange to be suspecting a mod that has like 3% usage, it's like this is still a Pokemon that's making the experience of prepping in this tier worse, viewing this tier worse, playing this tier worse, and removing it will just make the tier better for the future. And yeah, I just think the choice to me is pretty clear here. I don't think there's any value to be gained by keeping a Espathra, so please do your part and keep Espathra out of DOU. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. See you next time.